Hi everyone, welcome to Here We Are, Brattleboro's community talk show. I'm Wendy O'Connell. We're back again this week with someone from the community, and that person is the Reverend Dr. Scott Couper. He's the pastor at the Centre Congregational Church here on Main Street. That's the big, beautiful white church right on Main Street. He also teaches within the humanities at the Community College of Vermont, also downtown. Scott studied international relations, received a master's degree in theology, a PhD in history, and beginning with a study abroad program through SIT, he spent 20 years in Africa, focusing on grassroots movements, NGO management, and human rights abuses. As he wrote in a recent letter to the editor of the Commons, quote, "I endeavor to cross-pollinate that which I study and teach with that which I preach." Welcome, Scott.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. And I'm so impressed you read that commentary.
Oh, your letter to the editor?
Yes.
Oh, it was a wonderful letter.
Thank you.
In fact, I read another letter that you wrote not that long ago, too.
Okay.
No, I think it's wonderful to hear your voice in the community. I think we are so lucky to have the Commons, where you can write extended letters to the editor or have, your own column even. So I appreciate that that you're offering.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's also really interesting. So folks should look back at some of the letters to the editors in the Commons. So Scott, you've landed here in Brattleboro, but let's backtrack a little bit because you grew up in a military family.
I did. In fact, all three parents were in the military and two grandparents.
Wow.
So technically speaking, between all five family members, I've participated in all five branches of the U.S. military. That's if you count the United States Army Air Corps, which was the Air Force before it was the Air Force. Oh, wow. But yeah, both my grandfathers fought in World War II, and all three of my parents served in the military.
That's incredible. Did you have siblings?
I did. I have one younger sister, far more clever than I am. But yeah, she's 2 years younger than I am, and she lives in Florida. And
so neither of you went into the military?
Neither one of us, no.
Did you ever think of it?
No, I decided the church would be my military, so to speak. And I signed up. I enlisted in the church. And the church stationed me in Africa for 20 years. But yeah, no, I took my marching orders from the church. So it's the church militant, so to speak. Most churches, I think, are hierarchical. But because I served abroad, I was highly accountable to the partner church in Africa. So I did what they asked me to do, and they told me how it should be done. And my responsibility as a servant was to do it that way. So they told me where to go, what to do, and how to do it, and I did my best.
Hearing you talk about it, it could sound like a burden, to be told what to do. But because you had it in your familially, it was probably just more of the way you lived your life, right?
Very much so. Yeah, I have an affection for what I term to be benevolent authority. And if one's vocation is servanthood, then one sort of acquiesces or strives to please the one that one serves. So for me, that was the African people within the African church, and specifically within the African Congregational Church. The Africans that I served in South Africa had been Congregationalist since the 1830s.
Oh, wow.
And in many senses were more Congregationalist, more New England Congregationalists than New England Congregationalists. We since have sort of modernized, but in Africa they sort of hold tighter to their traditions. So in a way, it was sort of like traveling back in time within the Congregationalist Church to serve what were fourth and fifth generation Black, Zulu, Congregational Christians. With the School for International Training, I studied in Nigeria and in Zimbabwe. And in between, I worked in Ghana and the Kingdom of Lesotho. It was only after I did my graduate studies that I was appointed to the Congregationalist Church in South Africa as an ordained minister. It's specifically called the United Congregationalist Church of Southern Africa.
Oh.
And the first church I was appointed to was the home church of Albert Lutuli, who won the 1960 Nobel Peace Prize. So if you think of it as, the Baptists have their Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
The Anglicans or the Episcopalians have their Archbishop Desmond Tutu. The Congregationalists have Albert Lutuli, who won the Nobel Peace Prize before Tutu and before Mandela and even before Martin Luther King Jr.
Did you write your dissertation on that?
I did.
Yes,
yeah, I wrote the first substantive biography of Albert Lutuli. I found my role model. I found my spiritual hero.
Wow.
My congregational saint. Yeah, I dedicated 10 years of my life to telling his story, which hadn't been told before.
When you were a kid or when you were younger, did you have a calling?
Yeah, I believe I did, but it wasn't to local church ministry, which is where I find myself. I really wanted to work for the church as an attorney or as a journalist.
Interesting.
I wanted to focus on justice work or human rights work. I didn't see myself at all as a sort of pastoral functionary. And it was against my will that I was appointed to a local church as a minister. And I absolutely adored it. I absolutely adored it. And I think that is sometimes the recurring motif within people of faith, in the sense that they're often led to where they do not want to go. And once they are there, they discover that is what they were meant to do.
That's so interesting. So you were called and you had a calling.
Very
and you
much
responded.
so. Yes.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And so what do you think that is about, because you've said that you like to work, you like to be a pastor in the community that you live in.
Yeah.
And is it the intimacy with the people, getting to know the community?
Yeah, I often think of it as I'm probably a much better academic than I am a minister. But I just cannot let go of the whole minister thing. I love what I'm probably not as good as compared to academics. But what keeps me in the church or within a local faith community, and this is the sense that I am able to interact and to serve with people that I want to be like.
Oh.
It's in Brattleboro, and even within my church, I find that I am with people that have a much deeper faith than I do, who are more honest with their faith, who have a tremendous sense of integrity and have sacrificed. And I realize I'm not there. But by being with them and serving with them, I'm able to sort of learn how to go to where I want to be. And it's often where they are. And so for me, it's very much of a lifeline. I'm not necessarily a minister that everyone should look up to. I'm rather a minister that really looks up to other people and wants to be like them.
A different kind of emulation, right? Yes. And you found that to be true in other communities as well?
Without a doubt. I found it in every local church that I have served.
Yeah.
Just wonderful beautiful, faithful, honest people that I would like to be more like.
This is a good time actually to describe or just to tell us about the Congregational Church itself. The fact that it's an open and affirming church, a just peace church, which I did not know what that was before. So yeah, if you could talk a little about that.
Sure. In brief, an open and affirming church is a church that is queer friendly and trans friendly. But it also means that we are accepting of all people without exceptions. And so we really want to be a place that more than simply welcomes, but also affirms.
Yeah.
And as with all things, whether we're individuals or whether we're collective, we all sort of have ideals and we strive to work towards them. We often fall short, but nonetheless, we work together to hopefully live up to that which we aspire to.
Right, right.
In terms of a Just Peace Church, that was begun in the 1980s. By a predecessor of mine who still is a member of the church, the Reverend Jack Bixby. And we became a Just Peace Church because during the 1980s, there was the perestroika, the detente, the glasnost, the rapprochement with the former Soviet Union. And there was a program, I think it was called the Bridges Towards Peace, where our church hosted former Soviet citizens, and then we had members of our church travel to the Soviet Union. And it was a means by which we supported everything from nuclear disarmament to peace with the Soviet Union. And today, of course, the issues are different. But we seek very much to be a just peace church, which strives for justice and for peace. So, for example, on September 14th, we're going to be hosting an Israeli conscientious objector who defied the mandatory enlistment into the Israeli Defense Force and was jailed for that. And she will be speaking at Centre Church. So as a Congregationalist church, we want to be a place where the community can discuss issues, can enter into substantive dialogue, and to discern a way forward that is appropriate for the community and for the world.
Yeah, and Just Peace, you're focusing on peace. That is what your focus is.
And justice.
And justice,
because as you know, often you can have peace without justice, which really isn't peace.
Going back to Africa, you went there in 93, I think the first time. Early 90s.
92, 93. I was I think I was a junior in college. I studied in, of all places, Lagos, Nigeria.
Yes, I'd never even heard of that.
It's boy, if you can survive in Lagos, Nigeria, you can survive anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
That was through the School for International Training, which was
before you knew about Brattleboro.
Before I knew about Brattleboro.
Yeah.
But SIT, I went to Nigeria, and Nigeria was an extremely intense place to be, and I absolutely thrived in that intensity. Nigeria is very intense religiously, in terms of its literature, in terms of its population, in terms of its pollution, in terms of its crime, in terms of its music. I mean, everything is done thoroughly, good or bad. Everything is done very thoroughly in Nigeria. And it was just saturated with intensity. And I loved that. I felt really alive there. And since then, I've sort of held on to Africa with a white knuckle death grip.
Well, and you went on. You were in Zimbabwe as well, and you were doing pretty intense things. You were grassroots movements and NGO management.
At the time, it was like the moon. It was a horrible drought when I was there. In fact, my homestay mother died while I was there. I was supposed to be doing a blacksmithing course, but you need water to do blacksmithing. And very quickly with my homestay brothers, we had to develop a priority list for water. First for drinking, second for cooking, third was washing ourselves, and fourth was blacksmithing. Well, we never had water for blacksmithing. So I think I was there for like 8 or 9 months, and we scarcely did anything. But mostly what we did was we dug huge holes in riverbeds, sometimes 2 and 3 stories deep, in order to scoop water and pass it up, scoop water and pass it up. And then every night we would close all of these big holes that we dug with thorns and bushes and whatnot, because the cattle would smell the water, and then they would fall in, and they would actually die in there and then contaminate the water. So it was an amazing bonding experience to survive with other people. We had great conversations. We had a lot of fun. We told a lot of jokes. There wasn't much else to do but dig and survive.
Yeah.
So yeah, Zimbabwe had its own intensity. It was a rural, desolate intensity as opposed to Lagos, which was a hyper urban intensity. Right.
You know, hearing your stories about how it's so completely different than Brattleboro, you know, and the things that you're dealing with here are nothing like that in terms of survival and just basic needs of the people. How has that been for you, making that transition?
Well, it's interesting, you know. We're dealing in Brattleboro with a lot of socioeconomic problems. You know, just 2 of a long itemization of issues would be substance abuse and mental illness. My experience with substance abuse and mental illness here in Brattleboro is far more intense than substance abuse and mental illness in Nigeria or Zimbabwe or South Africa, where I lived for 20 years in a black township. So in many ways, the difficulties here are seemingly as intractable as the difficulties there. The substances that people are able to acquire here are more damaging than the substances that people acquired in Africa. And also, I think our society and or our state doesn't have much of a means by which to deal with mental illness. Whereas in Africa, there was, whether informal or formal, better systems of dealing with those who are suffering from mental illness. So at least with those 2 problems, I see a huge difficulty here in Brattleboro, a void of remedies.
Yes. Well, also you're dealing in just boots on the ground experience, you're dealing with completely different energetics, right? I mean, in Africa, so much of it is survival, you know,
Very
and
much
the
so,
energy going toward that. You know, there isn't time for a lot of this leisure time traps that we get into over here, right?
Yeah, and there aren't as many safety nets there as there are here. I mean, here with SSI and SSD and with food stamps and with Reach Up and with loaves and fishes and with Brattleboro Memorial Hospital in the emergency room. I mean, there's just safety net after safety net after safety net after safety net. Yet there are still people out on the street every single day who seemingly aren't able to get the help that they need.
And we don't lack for resources
None.
at all.
We don't.
It's kind of unbelievable. That, yes. And so, so let's talk a little bit about your teaching.
Yeah.
Because I think you enjoy teaching. Is that right?
I absolutely
Teaching
love
and
it.
preaching.
Yes. Yeah. I had a teaching supervisor who was in the ministry before he became a teacher at a university level, and I once asked him, why did you leave ministry? Because I can't seem to leave it. and he thought for a moment, and he said, you know that scripture when Jesus says, those who have ears hear, those who have eyes see, basically Jesus was saying, some people are in resonance with the transcendent, and some are not. And sometimes there's very little that you can ever do to change that. Some people simply will never hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And some people will be with you.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
Yeah.
And he said after preaching in the church for many decades, he says, I realized that I wasn't persuasive, because those who always heard me, and those who never would, never will. But he said, when I switched to teaching, I was with people who were persuadable, who were open, who would hear, who I would teach, and they would learn. And thus I felt I had a voice that mattered more. And I've always thought a lot about what he said, and I understand it. I'm not disillusioned at all by the church. However, I really am inspired by the fact that when I am with students, I feel like I have more agency, like I make much more of a difference teaching to students than I do preaching to parishioners. And I experience that tension, but I'm still quite willing to do both to the best of my ability.
Well, and so then what about your connection to theology? I'm assuming that's one of the reasons why you want to stay preaching and being a preacher. Yeah, so it's that connection to the higher source, right?
I think, I love worshiping, whether it's in a synagogue or whether it's in a mosque or if it's in a temple or if it's in a cathedral or a Quaker room. For me, what I yearn for is the transcendent, that which is above and beyond me. And I think almost within all forms of worship, I'm able to get there. And so I really gravitate towards worship, and I also believe very strongly that one cannot be in touch with or in resonance with the transcendent without other people. I don't believe that I can be there by myself. And again, it goes back to what I was saying. The whole reason why I'm in the church is because I encounter people who I want to be like.
Yes, right.
So it is through my relationships with other people, that's the only place where I can find the transcendent, because the divine is in all of us.
Right.
So for me, the best place to find the divine is within you, is within my parishioners. And so that's why community and worship are, they're sacrosanct.
And, as you say, everybody who's on, people of faith are on a journey, right? And so this is not a destinational situation as much as it is aspirational. And so I think that that's a little bit about what you're speaking to, is to be with a group of people who aspire is very different than being with a group of people who have strong beliefs that adhere to them in an intractable way. And to have that acceptance of others and yourself and the divine, right, kind of all in one place. and also that I could see how they could translate to the classroom as well. You're all there for a common purpose.
Different abilities,
Yeah.
different strengths, different weaknesses,
Yeah.
different aptitudes. But if we're all in a discussion together,
Yeah.
then all of us will rise.
And if you're in a quiet space together, you all are also doing
Very much so.
And yeah, community is a big part of it. I have to say one thing about community and one thing about the Congregational Church was at one of the demonstrations, coming down the hill toward that demonstration and seeing the amount of, we're talking about June, I think this year, seeing all of the people of the community there, so many more than any of us.
Yeah.
3,000
Yeah.
is supposedly the number. But to see the people that came out together in Brattleboro, completely filling the whole area, and to hear the church bells tolling, it was really a moment.
Yeah.
It really was a moment. And we were coming down the hill and being called to that bell. And I think that there was something that was so sort of atavistic about that, you know.
Yeah, even just thinking historically, the Congregational Church was originally, you know, in the 1700s, the meeting house. It was the place of civic discussion. And in fact, I think one of the reasons why you can't throw a stick and not hit a Congregational Church in New England is because you couldn't actually establish a town without a meeting house, which was synonymous with a Congregational Church. And so it's a place where democracy can and should thrive. And the church bell, historically, yes, it called people to a cause, whether it was a fire, you know, to put out a fire, or whether it was to meet. But it also sent people out. One of the reasons why it's so important to ring that bell is to bring everybody together for a common cause, to build solidarity, and then to send everyone out. And so I made it a point that we ring that bell coming in and going out.
Nice, that's great. And you're ringing it by hand.
We are ringing it by hand, yes.
Or arms.
It's a Planet Fitness workout without the monthly fee.
Yeah, it's hefty, right?
It is quite heavy. One's triceps are pretty sore. Brattleboro has 4 congregational churches, you know, almost within spitting distance of one another. Guilford, West Brattleboro, the Dummerston, and Centre Congregational Church.
Oh.
And there's also, there's one in Newfane.
And there's Westminster West.
Westminster West. We all also worship together. It's one of the things I love about this community is we aren't in competition with one another. Every month we come together in the summer and worship together as sister churches.
What I've noticed, and I'm sure other people in the community have noticed, is that everything we've been talking about you are doing there at Centre Congregational. You are bringing people together. You are feeding, clothing, and visiting people, which I know are 3 of the tenets of the church. But that is on display. We see that walking by, you know, whether it's the rainbow flags that you have up or signs that you have or arrows that are pointing toward food. You're also welcoming. I know that you have a Zen Buddhist group there that meets regularly.
Yes, and we have a Muslim prayer room that began when the Taliban took over Kabul, and we had the evacuation of Kabul, and we had many Afghan refugees come to the Brattleboro area.
Yes.
Some of them were coming in the winter where they didn't have clothing for our temperatures. And so in partnership with the Episcopal Church, St. Michael's Episcopal Church, we have a ministry called Carry Me Home which is basically free clothing. We also share a joint ministry called Loaves and Fishes, which provides food. And yes, we have the prayer room for the Muslim community. The Zen Buddhists have their own space. We've also had kirtan, which is Hindu sourced chanting and meditation. The Christians are still there. We're still alive and well, and they're every Sunday. Christian worship. We do a lot of work together with the Jewish faith community, the Brattleboro area Jewish community, celebrating Hanukkah and even having Hebrew kirtan concerts
very cool.
at our church. And of course, we have AA and NA, which have their own sort of nebulous spirituality.
Yes.
But they certainly recognize a higher power that is very inclusive. So at Centre Church, we are trying to really become an interfaith campus. We want to welcome people of all faiths and even no faith. We want to welcome everyone within an interfaith campus. That's really quite our goal. Centre Church doesn't want to be a landowner with tenants. You know, we would much rather be in partnership with our Muslim brothers and sisters, our Hindu, our Buddhist, with AA, NA as partners. So it's my dream that the Christians will be sharing this space with many different faith communities. And basically, we share the same values.
Right.
So while there may be different practices and different traditions, there's not a lot of contradictions at all. And I would like to share the same space as partners. So that's something that we're working toward. Right. I was just chatting with Amr Latif, who's a Muslim scholar and academic, and I was expressing to him my desire to at least once a week have a call to prayer from the steeple. And I realize that's probably a bit controversial. But again, we are to have ideals. We are to have aspirations that we should work towards. And I mean, that's one of the ones for me to have Christian bells, so to speak, calling a community together. I would also like to have an imam calling the Muslims in the Brattleboro community together for prayer. And it's in that way we can work together without diluting any of our faith traditions.
Right.
But sharing our values and working towards them together. So it's a dream of mine.
Well, it's a dream, it's an aspiration, but you've also got a lot of energy behind it and a lot of great people working with you in all of those different areas. It's really exciting, Scott. Wonderful to hear this from you. Wonderful to hear your stories. Really appreciate you being on the show.
It's a pleasure talking to you. I think everybody should have an opportunity to share their dreams, and that way other people will hear what they are.
That's right.
And join. I appreciate this forum because you bring people together by what you do. And I think one of the greatest things that any of us can do is introduce really beautiful, good people to other beautiful and good people.
That's right. Yes.
Doesn't get any better than that.
No, it's wonderful, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, all of you out in the audience, for hearing this very inspirational and very exciting conversation with Scott Couper from the Congregational Church here in downtown Brattleboro. Tune in. We will have someone else on the show next week, and we appreciate you being with us.